Hey everybody, Sebastian Maniak here, and I'm going to give you a demonstration on what I've been working on with my team on how to utilize ServiceNow to dynamically really orchestrate F5 configurations or modifications. And in this demo walkthrough, I'm going to show you how we can use ServiceNow to be able to find all the existing members inside of a pool, make some type of modification, submit that towards our existing change process, and be able to make these types of orchestrations automatically on a vast number of devices. So let's jump into our environment. We have ServiceNow, and in here, inside of ServiceNow, we're building this catalog. We have our on-prem or our virtual environment where we have an F5. And in this F5, we're going to have really a backend pool, and a web app pool. And these pools are going to load balance our web front and our backend application. Inside in here, we're going to have our mid server. This is on-prem. This mid server makes or communicates with ServiceNow, and he is going to make these API calls towards our F5 device so we can configure those specific pools and so we can see what configuration are inside of those pools. So what will happen is, right, once a user really submits some catalog item, this catalog item is going to make an API call towards our F5 devices, and it's going to pull all the data. Once it pulls all the data about pool member, it's going to really put them in this type of table, and it's going to allow this user to be able to edit this table, and then they can submit this table or add to cart. This is going to go through an approval process. Either it's approved or it's rejected by the dev team or by the networking team or the engineering team or change management, whatever it is. Once change management approves this, so once we get the approval for this, that check mark to go, ServiceNow is going to make that call to the mid server, and mid server is going to execute that API flow or that workflow that we have configured to make these changes to the backend server. So if we dive into the environment, this is how it looks like and how it can look like in a production environment. We have our service catalog in ServiceNow. We have our F5. Our F5 contains two pool members, the backend and the web app. If we kind of click on statistics, we can see that we have one backend server and two web app servers itself. So what we want to do is let's add a new backend server. So we go back to our tab, and under the common partition, that's the default. If we were using AS3 or something else, we could have that in there. But I'm going to type backend pool. Once I select out of that box, ServiceNow initiated that REST API call towards my F5 device and grabbed the current latest information about this big IP or about this pool member. It has my backend 01, my IP address, my node, my port, all this data. So what I want to do now is make some changes to the environment. I'm going to click on add. I'm going to add a new backend server, backend 02, 172.16.22 on port 80. I'm going to click on the add button here. So now we've added it. So our end state is going to be these two pool members have to be inside of our F5 configuration. I'm going to make this order. I'm going to check it out. Now this order is going to go to the networking team or the operations team or whichever team manages the F5s for approval and change management. So we have our approval. We see the approval request for this RITM numbers came in. It's part of this environment, this partition, this pool. If I click on the configuration, this is the end state that we're trying to get to, is these two pool members. I'm going to click on the approve button. And now, since this has been activated, ServiceNow goes in and makes those changes. So if we refresh the page, we saw the pool member was added. We can click on the pool properties and go to pool members. Now we have those two back-end pool members, which is great. So really, this allows us to automate all the changes that are required on an F5 big IP. And if we go back again and we go back to that F5 request, and I type in backend pool one more time, once again, we're doing the exact same thing. We're making the ServiceNow mid servers initiate a REST API call to get the latest config from our big IP, because we're using our big IP as that source of truth. So all the configurations is on that device itself. So for example, let's add another one. So we got web app pool. So we're going to go to web app pool, and it did its refresh. It sees that we have these two servers, web app 01, web app 02. We're going to click on and of course add another server. That's web app 03, 172.1610.13. I'm going to click on add. So now our end state, once again, is we want to add a third one. We're going to order this, check it out. Approval comes in to ServiceNow, to that team. We see our end state here. We click on the approve button. We go to our F5 and let's click back on pools. And now we see that that web pool was automatically added to that big IP. Now we go to members and here we go. So we've entirely took the whole orchestration or that manual process that it takes to update our existing pool members in our F5s to really automate and orchestrate it and include it inside of our existing services and change management processes itself. And just like if we want to add or delete anything, if I want to go back to the backend pool and put a new order because I'm removing this backend server, I'm going to click on edit and I'm going to say I want to delete this, I want to remove this. So when we're cleaning out this configuration, I'm going to set this order in. We're not only just removing it out of the pool, we're actually eliminating the entire object from the F5 because we always want a clean config. And that's kind of the things I see as an F5 consultant developer, is that there's always old configurations and we don't want to have that. So we're going to approve this change. And now if we go back to the big IP, we can click on nodes. We only see backend 01 available because it got eliminated, removed. And we only see one pool member inside of our F5 device. And with this, it's really F5 orchestration. We have an entire change auditing process that's already inside of your ServiceNow environment, but now you just utilized the ServiceNow flow designer to be able to initiate those configurations. And I'm using literally the same flow designer I was using in the previous video, where I'm getting the information from that catalog and I'm either adding the nodes to the F5, adding the nodes to the pool members, or if it's set to delete, we're deleting those nodes from the pool and deleting those nodes from the node section to keep that configuration clean. So hopefully you like this video. If you have any questions, feel free to message me on Twitter or LinkedIn, subscribe, and thank you for watching.